All right, we'll get started here in just a few minutes. Just hang tight. Okay, we're about 2 minutes out, so just hang tight and we'll be right with you. All right, welcome to Stock Analysis Friday. We're going to be starting in about a couple minutes here, so we'll be with you in just a minute. In the meantime, have your stocks handy, and you can actually start typing them in right now if you'd like to into the comments area. If you're watching the recording at home later on, we'll have all the links down in the bottom of the description area, as well as a timeline for you, and we welcome you as well. So we'll be with you in just a minute. Also, before we get started, just let me know that the audio is okay, so I know you can hear me okay, and make sure it's not garbled or anything of that nature. If it becomes garbled during the presentation, please let me know as well. All right, well, welcome everybody to Stock Analysis Friday. It's great to be here. And of course, this is the first one for 2023. So hopefully everybody had a great new year. All right, I'm going to go through some administrational items here really quickly, just to things like risk disclosure and things like that. While I'm doing that, feel free to go ahead and type in your stock symbols in the comments area so I can get to those later in the presentation, and do those in caps for me, okay? It's just easier for me to see if I can see them in caps. All right, looks like the audio is good. If it becomes garbled during the presentation, please let us know in the comments area. Sometimes that happens. and we don't know exactly why, but we have a few different mics we can change over to if that does happen. All right, let's get going. Let me go through the administrational items first, and I have to cover the risks involved in trading. Like I always say, without those risks, there is no opportunity. So the two really go hand in hand, but you need to be aware of them, and it is possible to lose some or all your money trading or even investing in the markets. But that's why you want to do it with money you can afford to, and that's usually called risk capital. Also, too, when we look at stocks today or we talk about the markets, please realize we don't know your personal situation, so you need to run any of these suggestions or ideas past your financial advisor to be sure they're suitable for you, because they know things like your age, your risk tolerance, your net worth, and whether short-term trading or trading the stocks we recommend are suitable for you. And then finally, please know how to do risk control on each and every trade. That includes calculating your trade size, which is your position size, the number of shares you buy or sell of something. So if you need help with that, we've got a great array of books available for you. My most newest book is the second one from the right called A Money Management for Traders. And that's that book outlined in green. Great book, very inexpensive. I'll have the link down below in the recording for you to order that. We have a dedicated Amazon page for that, so you can go right there and purchase that. We're also excited about the book on the far right called The Art of Trading, second edition. That's going to be coming out in the summer of next year, and that is a second edition on our first book that came out in 2008 called The Art of Trading. So The Art of Trading is not going to go just not going to go into what you need to know to become really good at this, but it's going to also include all our latest software tools. And we have a bunch of them, and we have charting software, we have scanners, and we have risk control software. So definitely check that out. We try to cover all the major elements of what you need in terms of tools, so you get a ultimate trading system. And risk control is a very important part of that. So it's not just about entries and exits. It's not just about finding the best stocks or futures to trades, but it is also about knowing how to apply risk control, and software tools are important for that as well. All right, and then finally, I'm told that it's important to like, subscribe, and share to the channel. That's the way apparently it gets boosted. So we want to try to get as many people here as possible. And the main reason is simply because the more people we can get here, the more stocks we can look at, and the more opportunities we may uncover that you're not aware of. And so it's almost like a stock picking service to boot. So there's a lot of benefits about getting more people here. So always pass the word on and let's get a big attendance here. All right, and finally, just thanks for taking the time to being here. I know everybody's busy, so it's nice to have everybody out here. All right, so I see some symbols coming in, and I'm certainly going to get to those. I'm going to cover just a few that I like to cover anyway. And the first one is gold. All right, before I jump into gold, let me just quickly, if you're new here, go over what you're looking at. All right, so I currently use our tools in what we call the Ninja Trader charting platform. Now, our tools can be used on TradeStation, multi-charts, MT4 and MT5 and eSignal. So you don't have to use just one platform, but I'm using the Ninja Trader platform right now. And at the top here is our scanners. That's what it looks like, a rainbow colors up here. These are our scanners, and what they're constantly doing on any time frame you select is they are looking at the things that I like to look at from a technical standpoint to tell me what are good candidates to trade. So that's what's going on at the top. And in the bottom section here, we have the actual charts. Now notice we have three charts, and they happen on this particular situation all be on gold. And gold is GLD, that's the ETF for gold in the markets. And so we have a short-term look at gold over here, and we use the 60-minute chart for that on the far left. And the center is our primary time frame, which is our daily time frame. And this gives us the intermediate look. And then we have the weekly or long-term look on the far right. So whenever we look at a stock today, we're always going to be taking a look at three time frames. Now, we're probably not going to be using the scanner today because you're going to be giving me the symbols. But for example, if it's over the weekend and I'm looking for candidates for the next week, I'm going to use that scanner to help me find those. But for today, we're going to focus on the charts. Now, the next thing you're going to notice is we have triangles on charts. This is the art software actually looking at fractal patterns in the market or trending patterns in the market. And so that's giving us clues as to whether it's moving up or down. And obviously in gold, we've got the most recent pyramids here moving up. So it's an uptrend. We use those for entries and exits. And then at the bottom here, we have what we call the OWL, which measures momentum. And then we have the PTF down here, which indicates whether a top is a top or maybe we'll have a little bit more highs and vice versa for lows. So I just kind of wanted to quickly cover that so you kind of have an idea of what you're looking at. Now we use fibs, we use Elliott wave for those into technical analysis. If you're not into Elliott wave, basically it assigns numbers to trends and there's 5 waves in a trend. So I'll talk to you a little bit about that in just a moment. All right, so here's what we've got with gold. Now, in gold here, we've been moving off this bottom here, and it really hasn't pulled back much yet. All right, it's had a pretty good move really through the fall into the winter, and currently now it's going up. Now, what's interesting is when we look at the weekly chart, and I'm going to open this chart up a little bit more, we can see that in terms of the big trend was up here way back in 2018 and then settled back down, and looks like it may have reached a bottom here and is now moving up. So in terms of Elliott wave, maybe a 3, a 4, and a 5. So these blue lines represent the target. That's where we think the market is going. So for gold, we're looking at probably a wave 5. That's an Elliott wave 5, which is the end of a trend, is probably going to be around 201 to 233. So that's where we think it's going. Now, things don't go straight up. They zigzag. They go up, little profit taking, they go back up, profit taking, and go back up. So don't be surprised if gold does pull back, and it could pull back. It's at 173. And if you look at basically the halfway point between where it came off the bottom and where it is now is almost about 160. So we could get a pretty decent pullback at some point. And so we use the shorter time frames, which you'll look at in a minute, to see if we're close to that or not. But let's take a look at the momentum down here on the OWL. All right, that's bullish. And check this out. This is the PTF down here, and this is bullish. So the PTF, what it's saying here is that there is a 75% probability that this high, whatever the highest price bar is in this green area, there's a 75% probability on the next major move up, we're going to take that out. And so that's looking right at the target zone. So we reached the target zone here. We had a nice 3 here. And notice that the OWL told us it was a 3 there. We had an A, looks like a B, C correction. So I think things are looking pretty good for a bullish trade here. But, okay, it will pull back at some point. So you got to be a little careful here. The pyramids, have got it moving up, but they're also ratcheting up base leg stops on those for this first move up. So you got to be a little careful here. Let's just see what's going on here in terms of the lower time frames. So on this move up, we've got bearish momentum. So, it's still not really heading down. We have bullish over here. So I think we're still going to go higher short term. So I think we'll probably be good until next week. So let's take a look at this next week. But for right now, I got to say this is a recommended one. So gold is recommended at this time, and it was last time as well. But you got to realize that you're going to get a pullback on this. So you got to be a little bit careful about where you think your stop's going to be. The lowest you can put it, the better. Okay, that's really important. All right, and the next one I wanted to look at is USO. And you guys keep typing your stocks in, okay? Because I'm going to get to those in just a minute. All right, so USO is kind of an interesting one. I'm going to open up the weekly chart once again on this one, and you can see where we've had this big bounce way up from the year 2020. So the last 2 years it's been heading up. Now it corrected, and we're kind of, you still got a red owl here. So it's very possible we could go back down into the target zone before we see a bottom. So do we have a bottom here, or is another bottom coming soon? All right, well, we're going to keep an eye on that. And certainly it is possible to get another bottom. Now, here's our target for crude oil in 2023 sometimes, way up in this area here, okay? So we do think crude is going to rebound and get back into the hundreds, all right, 103 all the way up to 129. So this could be almost a double your money one if we hit it correctly in terms of the bottom. So if you miss the bottom, if you're in it now and it comes down a little bit further, you may have your stop under here or you may have it here. Get out, all right, and then get back in when it turns around. So we're actually long-term bullish. Short-term, still kind of pulling back a little bit. All right, and let's take a look at those short-term charts. So it's a little messy here, okay, a little zigzaggy. But we do have a little bit of bearishness coming in on the daily chart. We have that also on the 60-minute chart. So we're going to have to wait and see if this bottom holds. So I think for this one, I would not recommend a buy right now. I would let's see a little bit more bullishness coming in on the lower time frame. So this would need to be green. This would need to be green. And let's see if this bottom holds. Okay, that's the $1 million question right now on oil. So again, bullish on oil overall in 2023. Let's just see if it's still searching for a corrective bottom. And then the last one, or actually not the last one, but another one I want to look at here before we get on is TLT. Now, TLT is the ETF for bonds. And, you know, I think bonds is going to be a tremendous buy. And I'm not sure it's totally on the up and up here. We still got a lot of red in the indicators below, but we're kind of watching it. It has had an unbelievable sell-off, okay, since really 2020, okay, it's come way down and it's still bearish on the weekly chart. So I'm a little bit concerned about going long here yet, but we're going to keep an eye on it, okay? Because I do think bonds could be, this TLT, which is the ETF for bonds, could be a really good buy. I don't necessarily want to say of a lifetime, but necessarily a buy of the decade, put it that way. All right, and then also now, you know, we have to talk a little bit about Bitcoin market. So, you know, Bitcoin, like I've said before, obviously it's been beaten down. I'm not throwing the towel in on Bitcoin. I do think there's going to be a place for cryptos going forward in our civilization, so to speak. I kind of think we're in the same kind of era that we were if we go back 20 years, 22 years ago, or 23 years ago, back at the dot-com bubble that occurred in the late 90s to early 2000s. And then, of course, you know, it went bust. And all the many dot-com companies went bankrupt because they really weren't earning any money. But the hype in the 1990s kept boosting them up. But anyway, it went bust and the industry went bust. But out of the ashes rose Yahoo, Google, Amazon, and the ones we're certainly familiar with today. And now every company has a website. So I think you're going to see a similar type of rising from the ashes on the cryptocurrency markets. And there's a lot of them out there that are going under. In fact, one just went under the other day. So they're going under, but I think you're going to have a rise. So I'm watching GBTC, which is the ETF on Bitcoin itself. And there's blockchain and there's some others. Right now, they are not generating a buy, but they are exhibiting from a technical standpoint some bottoming here. So we're going to keep an eye on it and see. And if I see a potential buy here, I'll let you know, okay? So I just want to cover those. Those seem to be the staples that people like to take a look at. All right, so let me get to yours now, all right, which is why you're here, why we're all here. Okay, BEP. Let's take a look at this one, and this one is for William. How you doing, William? All right, tell me also, too, when you ask me for a stock, let me know if you're long, short, thinking about it, or whatever. All right, so here's a great, you got to have the right tools to do this business. And certainly we can see this isn't a move down. The question is it done yet? And the answer is we still have a red PTF here. We still have red here. This is looking bullish. So we are starting to move off its bottom. So I think we're probably going to get up to the inflection point. We'll probably get up to about $28, maybe $29. But then we probably will see some more selling. So I don't think a bottom is in yet. But this is a really good one to watch because I think we're getting close to a bottom. I just don't think we're quite there yet based on the tools I'm looking at because they are indicating more lows possible. Now, here's how you read this. When the 60-minute chart, which is the short term, has green, yet the primary time frame has red, what does that mean? A lot of people go, well, that's confusing. Not really, because what it's really saying is that we are in a correction that's going to go higher, but the correction is just that, a correction. It's not a change in trend yet because this chart is so bearish, and this is pretty bearish here. So we got bearish active pyramids here, we got them here, but we are in a correction on the lower time frame. So this probably, if we just draw some regular fibs on this move here, that point of inflection is going to be around $29 to $33. We're at 26. So that's it. The problem is, you got to put your stop pretty low here. So you could trade this to the long side on the 60-minute, but you have to be really careful because when you get to this target, you got to exit. So I probably will answer this in 2 questions. If you're looking for a more longer term trade, I would wait for the next bottom. If you want to jump on for a short-term trade to this target zone in here and go long, you certainly could do that, okay? So BBP is not a bad one for a short-term trade, but that's not for a position trade. All right, let's see what we got. All right, looks like we got a little spam on this one here. So let's block that guy out. All right, and I'm not sure exactly what that comment is. Okay, so let's dump that person out there. All right, and keep going. All right, so let's see what we got here. We got Stuart. How are you, Stuart? ALGN. Let's take a look at that one here. All right, I think that was my first troll. That's always a good sign. If you have a troll in your comments, that means you're getting actually more and more people there. Impressive, right? Huh? Okay. I look at that as a positive. All right. So Stuart, ALGN. All right. So it looks like, we had a nice move down. We got a little bit of a basing pattern here. The 60-minute chart has turned bullish. We now have green here. So see how this is a little bit different than the other one? So this is green here. We still got an active pyramid short with a stop here. So we would be going against the long-term look. Let's just see what we've got here. All right, so this is already retraced way lower than any type of what we would call normal wave 4. So we got to be careful here, but we have come close to an all-time bottom. So this may be a 1, 2, getting ready into a larger Elliott wave 3. So this may be worth an early entry against the long-term trend. And you certainly have that on the shorter time frames. Now, a couple things you can do here. I would expect this to be quite significant in its move up. But even if it is just moves first to a retracement area, you still got a top side between 382 to 516, and you're at 218. So that's worth the trade, worst case scenario. All right, so I'm liking this. You could wait for a pyramid entry here. You don't have one yet. Okay, a bullish one here. You don't have it. If you wanted to go in because this is so bullish and you have the pyramids on the lower time frame, you could do that. Put your stop right under this level here. Okay, so I'm actually going to put this one down as a buy. All right, I'm going to put this down. So if you're here first time, when I look at some stuff and I think they're pretty good, that's an opportunity for you. Now, you still got to calculate your trade size, and we have, the risk to reward calculator to give you a risk to reward. But I think here, if you go in here and you put your stop here, this is your risk, and you've got probably 2.5 times the potential profit based on where the risk is. So that's looking really good to me, okay? And then just calculate your trade size. So if we're wrong and you get stopped out, you only lose, let's say, 2% of your account size. So that's where you want to do that. If you need any help with that, that's that book I was talking to you about called The Trader's Money Management System. That has all the formulas in it for what I'm talking about right here. Okay, so there we have it. All right, so let me just get this guy. All right, so we got a sneaky one here coming in here as me, and that's not me. So I guess we got to change our password or something there. All right, so ALGN is good for today. All right, so let's take a look here at SIVB and see what we got cooking over here. All right, so SIVB, again, not a bad one, Stuart. Very similar to the other one. Not quite as bullish yet, all right, but it is turning around. So we have green here. We don't have a green PTF over here. We have a move up off the bottom. Here's my take on this one. Let me just open this one up a little bit on the daily chart. Very similar chart to the other one in terms of the pullback was so huge on this one. All right, let's get this one up so we can really see the bottom here better. All right, so we had a nice move up. We do not have an active pyramid to the downside. That's been stopped out. So things are moving off its bottom. Since we're so close to this point of resistance here, I would probably wait for that to get taken out before going long, okay? Just as an extra sense of security, so to speak, to make sure that we don't get stuck in a channel going sideways. So that's my only concern with this. However, all right, I am going to put this one on a buy list because the indicators are pretty much there except for the pyramid here. It's just early, okay? You could either put this on a watch list and watch for that to be taken out, or if you want to be chancy, you could go in certainly right now. So nothing wrong with that from an indicator standpoint, except the pyramid is missing on the daily chart to the upside. But for an early entry, pretty darn good. And again, you know, even worst case scenario, your target's going to be right up around 380 on this. So not too shabby. All right. And again, these are expensive stocks that Stuart showed us already. So you're going to want to probably use options for that. All right. Let's take a look at ZBRA. All right. And again, very similar. What's interesting, Stuart, on your stocks here is that you're really doing a good job catching it as they bounce off a possible bottom, which I love. All right. So let's take a look at the weekly chart. All right. Love this chart. Why do I love this chart? Because it's clear. This is a wave 3. Check out the bracketed market. You could have been in this for years. That's why you don't want to get stuck in this stuff. You want to wait for the breakout, or otherwise you could be in something for quite some time. So we got the breakout here, and it's looking really good. Now, in terms of an Elliott wave, whoops, I'm going to call this a 1 here, possibly a 2, 3, and let's see if how deep this 4 is. So it looks pretty good right now. Let's grab some fibs in here. So give me a second and go to the drawing tools. And this is all part of what I like to do to connect the dots. So we hit the target zone, and we actually went a little bit lower. So 70% of the time, when you draw the fibs like I do between waves 2 and 3, the target between 38.2% and 61.8, which is a fib retracement, that usually 70% of the time wave 4s hit there. 15% of the time they go a little further, as in this case, and 15% of the time they go shallower. The further they come down, the lower the wave 5 target zone is going to be. All right, so actually a shallow 4 will produce a higher wave 5. Now, we got to watch this level here because a wave 4 cannot go below wave 1. And it's pretty far away, so I don't think that's going to happen. So it looks to me like this is a wave 4. The question is, do we have a bottom in here? We still have an active short pyramid here, so the stop would be here. And this is what we're thinking could be a possible bottom. This is moving up close to going green, but it is not green yet. So any trade to the long side, we got to take that little additional risk that the long-term chart has not changed yet. But the long-term chart, it's like an aircraft carrier, all right? It's going to be the last ship to make a sharp turn, right? So the smaller time frames or smaller ships will turn quicker. So we can look at these to see if there's an opportunity. And I say yes, okay? I say you can go long here. Again, you have a support area here you can wait for if you want to. You've got pyramids. Put your stop either here or here. The lower, the better, depending on the trade size. You've got a green PTF on this, a green owl. You have a green owl on the 60-minute and nothing red on the 60-minute. So let's put Zebra down as a buy, okay? And again, if you're the kind of person that says, okay, I'm a little concerned about going against the weekly chart, then you wait. You can wait, but you're not going to get in as good a price as you are now. That's the difference. And then the target on this is going to be above the high here because we're expecting a bottom here. So, target around 650 or above. So you've got, 100% return possible there. So that's a good one. All right. A lot of home runs here, boy. Okay, ZZR. Let's take a look at that bad boy. All right, ZZR. Let's get that one all loaded up on all time frames. All right, so this one, again, this one almost looks like the Dow. This one has a COVID low here like the Dow did, and then another high, and now we're pulling back. I don't like this one as much as the others. All right, I do think we're in a little bit of a move to the upside, but here's where I think it's going to go before we can really make a decision on it. So if I use fib retracements just on this little move up on the short-term time frame, we're probably going back above 45 to 49, right in that target there. And then we're going to have to see how the indicators here look because we still have red here. All right, so I'm a little bit weary about putting you in when the momentum is still red on that one. So let's see on that one. Let's take a look at this next week. Let's put this one on a watch list, but no go for today, okay? So ZZR is a no-go. All right, let's move on. Thank you, Stuart. Great ones to look at. All right, back to William here. William, MBLY. Let's see what we got there. All right, not much history on this one. So right away, you can't really use the Elliott wave that much when you don't have that kind of history. There's not even enough history really on the daily chart, except we see a bearish pyramid forming back earlier this year. On the 60-minute, you're forced to use the 60-minute because that's going to have enough history to kind of make some decisions here. Do not go long yet, okay? Notice we still have a red owl or indicating a major move down still on this. So it hasn't bottomed yet, I don't think, okay? So no go on that. Let's take a look at your other one here. Let's take a look at SMCI. Give that a second to load. All right, I'm going to open up the weekly on this one and see where we're at now. Oh boy, beautiful. All right, so where are we? Well, we're in wave 3. Notice the owl tells you that. Also, too, we probably had a broad-based 1, 2. Don't forget long-term chart. So 1 was back in 2014. 2 was low, was right around 2018 middle, and we've been going up ever since. Huge owl here. All right. Now, the pyramids have you enter long ago, but your stop would be right about here. Okay. So it's giving you a lot of leeway for a correction. I would not trade that way. I would use let's use some of the shorter time frames here. Okay. So it's still moving up. All right. However, my concern is this leg up was pretty dramatic. So we want to see if we've had enough of a correction here for it. So let's draw some fib retracements in here and see if we've had any type of pullback. All right, so we just barely kissed the target zone here. We still have red here. We have things improving on the 60. All right, so the question really here is the bottom in? And how much higher is this going to go before we go into a major correction on the weekly? Because you don't want to get stuck long if this thing goes into a major correction. So if you were to go long, all right, at some point, and this, this was your bottom, then you could draw fib extensions to get your next target. But it's too early to draw the fibs in because we're not going to be long, even though we got a green pyramid, until this is green. All right, because we don't want to go long on negative momentum. So on that one, put it on a watch list and we'll take a look at it, bring it back next week or each week until we have a little more information on that, okay? So that's how I would do that. All right, let's take a look at our next one for you, William. HALO. All right, very similar in that a nice move up here. All right, so here's kind of, on that other one we looked at, here's what I'm concerned about. When we looked at the other one, we were kind of, maybe in this area here, but look what happens. Then you get that big pullback. So that's what I'm concerned about on the other one is you don't want to get stuck in that, right? So notice that the pyramids, start again after the correction. So, there you are. And the PTF was really helpful down here because it told you this high was going to get taken out, and it did. The problem is now you got bearish divergence, not enough momentum to keep that PTF bullish. So we could be near a top, a significant top. And if that's the case, then you'll get a really significant change in trend. All right, so let's see if the lower time frames can help us, and they are. So this is telling us after this correction is over, we're going to get one more high. Okay, that's good to know. This is telling us over here, we are still having more of a pullback. So what the 60-minute chart is telling us here is that this bottom is not in yet because these are so red. We're still coming down. And after that finishes, if this remains green, which I think it will, and this is a wave 3 on this time frame, we should get one more high. But after that next high, get out, because then that will probably be the time for a major correction. Okay, so it looks to me here like we got a 3, 4. We're in wave 5 long term. We're just not done with it. So I think we've gone into wave 4, a minor wave 4, inside a major wave 5. So we got one more leg up, and then that will complete the cycle for the uptrend. So you got to be a little bit careful on that one. All right, let's keep going here. All right, let me see. You can use options, Bill, if you want to. What I recommend on that, we have option software called OptionsPlay that we use. It really works quite well, and it will give you the best option based on delta, theta, and all that kind of stuff. If you go to our website and log into your VIP area there, all right, you'll have access to a page they prepared for us where you can get a discount. Okay, so that's available for you. That's how I choose my options, and you could use whatever they suggest, and they rate them for you. So sometimes a spread works better, sometimes just the basic put and call situation works better. So it depends. All right, so let's take a look. Al, good to have you here. NYCB. Let's see what we have coming up on that. All right, give that a second to load on all time frames. Oh my gosh, what a mess. Al, I don't know if I like this one. Only because look at how messy the volatility is down here and that's a weekly chart. So to be successful, if you're going to short-term position trade, you've got to really be able to pick these moves up and down really well. Otherwise, you're just going to go in and get stopped out. So this is pretty volatile for that. So I don't see anything quite there I like. And if anything, if I ever trade a volatile market, I'll basically just use the PTF for that because it's pretty difficult to get a decent Elliott wave count. And so this is showing a short trade, but you got a green owl here, so that's got to go away. Let's see if this top holds. I just think you can find something a lot better. Okay, so this one doesn't do anything for me. Okay. All right. So sounds good, Bill. All right, MBLY is an Intel spinoff. So there you have it. All right, UNH for Paul. UNH. All right, let that load here a little bit. Okay, so we've had a beautiful run up on this. Let's take a look at this bad boy. I mean, there it is, wave 3. God, these are just great. So super clear, right? All the way up, wave 3. Unfortunately now, bearish divergence, a long owl, not quite red yet. But as soon as that turns red, that confirms a wave 4. Now, if this goes into a wave 4, here's what you got to be careful about. Trying to determine where the proper place for a wave 2. I'm going to say all the way back here, okay? So let's grab the fib retracement. So here is what we got to be careful about. All right, now, until this turns red on the owl, it is possible that maybe the market will rebound and make one more high. That's definitely possible. But you got a couple things here. Let me just see if we've gone below that pyramid stop here, because we had a stop here on the green pyramid. So let me bring up the data box here. So the low on that one was 501.06, and we're below it, so that you no longer have an active bullish trade, and now the MP kicks in, so technically it could be a bearish trade. So if this goes into a major 4, the target zone is here. All right, so if this high remains, then this is where the market's going. Now, it's not going to go straight down. It'll go this way usually, or maybe a complex correction, but this is where eventually it should get to. So we're talking about 352 to the downside to 222, and we're at 488. All right, so you got to be careful here. Let's take a look at the short-term charts rather, and you can see they're all heading down too. So if you're long on this, get out. All right, that would be my first thing to tell you. And you don't want to be long at all here. All right, if you wanted to take a short position, you could do that. All right, you've got everything telling you to go short. I'm actually going to put UNH on the short buy list, or short list, I guess. All right, but this is one I like today to the short side. And what I would do personally on this is during a wave 4 correction or a bear market, it gets really sloppy. So it's very difficult if you use too short a time frame to make money on a corrective market, a bear market. So what I would do is I would go short here, put your stop up here, calculate your trade size, leave the stop alone until you get to the target. Don't try to trade the little waves in here, leave it alone. Go short, high stop. And if you do an option play, make sure you use one, that's pretty far out. I mean, it could take years to get down there, but this is one that you could put in place and forget about it. Use risk control. So you calculate your trade size. So if you were wrong and it makes another high, you get out. And if it does make another high, I'd do it again on the next move down, because this eventually will correct and you may be catching it perfectly here. Okay. So that's what I would do. I would recommend UNH for a long-term short. Okay. So let me put that down on the list, long-term. All right, good. Thank you for sharing that one. That was a good one. All right, now let's see where I was. All right. So you got a call on UNH. Get rid of the call. Okay, that's my suggestion. Of course, talk to your financial advisor first, but that would be my suggestion. All right. Okay, so let's go down here. Eleanor, how are you? RIG. Okay, let's take a look at yours here and get to RIG. Okay, so RIG is moving up, but boy, let's see here what we got. Let me look at the weekly chart here. Okay, so this is actually kind of good to look at this and see this, because when you're talking about significant trends, they usually occur in a market about 35% of the time. So whenever you're looking at a stock, it trends significantly 35% of the time. The rest of the time, it gets stuck in this volatility and areas like this. But before you can have a big trend, usually you see this. So that's a good sign. That is a good sign. And it's been there for a long enough time that if you get something popping out of that, that's significant. So a couple things. Notice we're starting to see green here. All right, yellow's okay. This is neutral. You can go long, and look at this. We've got some pyramids. Good sign. Now, the key level for this, it's got to get above here, okay? So if it doesn't get above here, then it could falter and stay in this channel, right? So if you're thinking about buying and you want to go in now, okay, you got the pyramid, put your stop down here, all right? But if you get stuck here, it's possible. Or you can wait for it to break out, all right? And then your chances increase that is more significant for a big trend. Now, it's always possible, too, on breakouts, that it could break out and go back into a channel. That's always possible. But as traders, if it does break out of a significant channel, and this is a high that's been pretty significant since 2021. So if we break out of that, that tends to put the probabilities on your side for a significant trend. And in trading, that's all we can do, okay? We don't have the crystal ball where we know exactly what's going to happen. We have to work in the realm of probabilities. So that would be a probable cause that it could trend, okay? So you definitely have an early entry possibility here. You just got to keep that in mind. Now, let's go down to the daily charts. I see nothing bearish on any of these charts here down below. I really don't. Okay. And again, here's that level sitting right here. All right. So we got to kind of watch that. Now, if you go in now, all right, you know, again, you've got to decide, are you going to be a short-term position trader and use this chart, or maybe take a long-term trade on the weekly chart and just let it go for a long time. That's what you've got to decide. So my only concern here is on this chart here, we've had 3 pyramids. You're getting near this point. We could get a pullback at some point. You're seeing a little bearish divergence here. We do have green here, so it's going up further. This was a 3, 4, 5. So we're kind of at the end, I think, of this move up. And then I think we're going to get a retracement. And the retracement could go to the inflection point, which is 50% of the move. And then we're going to see what happens. So I guess what I'm kind of thinking on this is I probably would wait for this to get taken out, or at least this high, after a retracement. That's kind of what I wanted to do if you were going to trade these time frames. If you're trading the weekly time frame, I would say long, and I'd get your stop either here or here. Okay, probably here, because that's too far. So maybe wait for a retracement. I'm not going to recommend this one right now, but I would if it gets above that area. So let's put this one down, RIG, as a watch list one. Or if you want to be chancy on the weekly chart, you could go long, but you're going to be in that a long time. Okay, so that's kind of it. All right, Tesla. Oh boy, Tesla. Right? All right. See? What a sell-off this was. Now, again, what I love about technical analysis is this, okay? If your broker calls you and say, Tesla's sold off, it's a great buy, when you look at the charts, there is no way you've got a buy here yet, okay? You just don't. All right, it's still moving down, so wait. All right, will it be a buy one day? It could be. But for right now, it ain't, all right? Can I go short? It's a little late, okay? You missed the party. It's already to the downside. So I would, I would probably not do anything with this in terms of a short or a long. If you're in it and you're not out now, well, God help you. That's all I can say, because it's still coming down, all right? So you got to be careful here. Will it recover one day? Oh, everything usually recovers unless they go bust, right? But you gotta, if you're gonna hold on to this at all in a long-term portfolio, it's gonna be a long-term portfolio, all right? So no short-term trade on that one, sorry. All right, that is Tesla. All right, let's see, Zim bottom fishing. Did we look at Zim already? Oh, no, okay, let's take a look at Zim. Now, if I miss any, okay, because it's very easy to miss what you're typing in here, because we got quite a few people typing. Just type it in again for me, okay, because I might have missed it. I certainly don't want to miss anybody here. All right, Zim. All right, so let's see what we got here. All right, so not much history, okay, on the weekly, that's for sure. And we've gone all the way up and all the way down, okay? So that was since April of last year. So if you bought here, had a nice ride up, but if you were a long-termer and didn't get out, you had a nice ride down, kind of like Bitcoin, right? If you used the trading tools, you would have been out up here in the upper 60s, okay? Again, you have to have the right tools if you're going to short-term trade this stuff. All right, so now it's still bearish. You got bearish pyramids, bearish owl coming down here. All the other time frames are bearish, so I wouldn't be a buyer here, and it's too late to go short. Okay, so there you have Zim. Not yet a bottom fishing. But Al, here is again, when you have the right tools, and I know you have them, you're kind of keeping an eye on it, but it's not a buy yet, right? Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, let's see what else we got. Bill says Elon Musk is the first man to lose $1 billion. Boy, it must be nice to be so wealthy that you can lose $1 billion and still keep going, right? All right, so let's see what I got to say here. All right, so, all right, Dan, okay, SILJ, SILJ. Thanks for typing all these in caps. It really helps me see them better. All right, so SILG. Let's see what's cooking on that bad boy. All right, I'm going to open up the weekly. All right, a little messy. All right, kind of back and forth, tough one to trade. I would think even on possibly position trading, but some of these are some of these are significant. But right now we're kind of roly-poly, right? So any short trades on the pyramids would have been stopped out for now. Pretty much break even, not much going. There's just not enough trends here, okay? Let's see if it's more amplified on the daily chart. Yeah, somewhat, but still a tough trade. I mean, the pyramids actually did a wonderful job here. Got you short and trailed it down here. So you got out here on a messy market, all right? That's one of the things I like to use about the pyramids for my stops, because what they do is they try to find the key levels of support to anchor your stops out. Now, if you were using a moving average stop, you would have been stopped out of here a long time ago. So there's an advantage to using key levels of support for your stops. And now we see it on the way up as well, okay? So we are starting to move up here, but I can't see anything super significant here, all right? I just don't know where the target's going to be. We had a PTF target on the 60, but that's gone. We don't have a lot of enthusiasm in terms of momentum on the owl. So I'm not I would kind of shy away from this one, Dan, okay, at this point. Cool. All right, anybody else? Boy, what a good day today. All right, so let me just, I think I covered them all. If I missed anybody, let me know. So currently we've got on the recommended list, I'm just going to read these off: gold, ALGN, SIVB, ZBRA, and UNK for a short, long-term short. All right, let me know if I missed any of those, but those are the winners. We've got a couple on the watch list. Let's bring those back and keep looking every week. All right. All right, let's see. Oh, sorry, John. Okay, let me see. EAF. Sorry about that. All right, I missed him. All right, thanks for speaking up, though, because otherwise I would not know. All right, let me just get these little indicators over here. And what are you doing on this one? You're long. Okay, good. Thank you. Very good. All right, so you're long. You're bottom fishing here. I would not be long here. All right, and the reason, John, here is that you're going against the red PTF here. Now, there is a small percentage of time that the PTF will remain red during the entire correction, because ultimately it could be proved right on the next move down, the next impulsive move down. So if this is a 3 and this is a 4, then the PTF will turn yellow most likely on the 5, and trading against it would have worked that time. But I usually, as a general rule, it has a 75% accuracy rate. So, you know, you've got bearish pyramids here and here now. You got a red here. You do have green here. So I guess if you wanted to trade the 60-minute, you could, but you'd have to use a retracement target zone for this one on the daily, let's say, somewhere right around here. So if it retraces, it could go up to 556 or possibly even 981. So you're talking about a potential decent profit there. The problem is here is I have to trade within some form of rule base to keep it consistent. And when this is red, I don't like to go against it. I have this red, so I'm not going to be long. This is red. This is red. But that doesn't concern me as much, because you could get a correction and then a bigger move down here on the short-term time frames. But this bothers me, okay? So the primary time frame, the one in the center, the daily chart, is so bearish that it would keep me from a long trade, okay? Hopefully that helps, okay? If you have 10% now, you may want to hold on to the trade and use this pyramid over here. I don't know exactly where you got in, but that may be your 10% right there. But if you have a stop here, you could do that. Now, another way you could do it is you could wait for one of the art signals, like, you know, this one or another one that comes up, and scale out a little bit. So let's just say you were long 500 shares. All right, maybe you trail a stop up under here for 250 shares and put the remaining 250 under here. The reason why I would scale out at all is because this is so bearish. Otherwise, I'd let it run, okay? All right, but you can manage that any way you want, but it is moving up on the 60-minute chart, so you probably can keep it. But I'm just concerned about how high up it's going to actually get, and that's my concern on that. All right, so it's a 60-minute chart trade only. Okay, good. All right, so if that's your plan, you're in good shape. Okay. Now, the other thing too, I wanted to mention, John, if you get a green PTF back here again, all right, then keep your stop for everything here, wait for a pullback, and when that turns yellow again, scale out. Okay, so you can use the PTF for scaling out as well, but right now it's yellow. Okay, so you can check that out. All right, Samuel, excellent to have you back here. No worries about joining us late. SQQQ, oh, that's a good one. All right, so the SQQQ is the triple inverse ETF on the Nasdaq, okay, or the Qs. And it is a phenomenal product to trade if you think the Nasdaq is bearish, all right, because it goes up when the Nasdaq goes down. The other benefit of these inverse ETFs are twofold, actually. You can hedge your portfolio with them. All right, so it's an alternate to options, hedging with options. The other thing is you can short-term trade with them. They're easy to go in, easy to go out. And, with shorting stocks, it can be a little cumbersome. You have to make sure the brokerage has the stock before you can short it. So it's not always the easiest thing to do. But with the inverse ETFs, it's easy. You buy them, and it's just like buying a stock, filled in 2 seconds, good liquidity. All right, so what are we thinking about here as well? All right, and let's see what we got. All right, so he says, seem to be in the channel between 50 and 58. Do you think it might go down below 50 in the next few weeks? Well, all right, we are bearish on the markets overall. But, during a bear market, it doesn't go straight down. It has a lot of volatility. And so that's why you're seeing this in a bracket right now. All right, you have bear markets are really tough to trade because short term, they're easier to just take a position if you think the market is selling off and you have a target zone well below where you are now, then obviously you can just hold the SQQQ until you reach the target zone. Or if the market turns around and does the unexpected based on your analysis, you can get stopped out and have to get out just like any other trade. So I kind of think the SQQQ in this bear market is better as a long-term trade than a short-term trade. And look at the daily chart. Look how messy that is, okay? So these are your swings, all right? You're going to be pulling your hair out on that. The pyramids did a pretty good job, but the idea really is I think you want to make a lot more money with a lot less energy than this, right, in this type of market. So I would tend to hold it, and I am bearish on the overall NASDAQ market, but that's me, okay? However, if we for some reason break out, make a new all-time high, then you have to cover the SQs, right? So just don't bet the farm on it. Take a good educated approach to it in terms of risk control and things of that nature. But let's take a look and see that, this weekly chart is starting to show some signs of promise. But here's the volatility. You can see it in the owl, right? All right, and look at these. So you don't want to use the pyramids if it's a long-term. Keep it down here, okay? Wait until you get into a wave 3 to start using the pyramids. But during the basing pattern, keep that stop as low as you can. All right, that's what I would recommend. Now, this says it's going down, okay? So we got a little bit of bullishness, and we're seeing that today. NASDAQ's up about 215. The Dow is up about 630, so extremely bullish day today. So this is saying short term for the rest of the day, maybe it could carry over early next week. This SQQQ is coming down, which means the NASDAQ is going up. But it doesn't mean it's going to go below this bottom, okay? This thing could come down, turn around, and head back up, all right? But you will experience this kind of volatility in a bear market. All right, so hopefully that helps, okay? And Frank, that should also mimic you as well, because the SPXS is the inverse on the S&P. So what you have to decide on these and is really your intentions. Are your intentions to trade the daily chart and get bounced around like a ping pong ball? Or are you in it for the long haul based on an analysis you might have done that the market is selling off. Okay, so that's really what you have to come to grips with first. So if you're in a situation where this is a long-term bearish play on the market overall, then your stop's going to be set accordingly on the weekly chart to be very low so you don't get whipsawed. All right. Now, if we go down here and it takes the bottom out, you got to get out. Okay. Because at that point, the market then really, this is not a bottom and the market's probably very, very bullish at that point. But you haven't hit that yet, but you have experienced volatility. All right. So keep that in mind. All right. So it all depends on your attentions. And remember, if you're going to take a long-term play, you got to decide how much money you're going to tie up in that long-term play because you won't have access to it, and what the potential loss could be if the analysis is wrong. And that's where you need to talk to your financial advisor or maybe even your wife. Okay, so definitely run it by both of them. Okay, so always a good idea. All right, what a good session today. My gosh, you guys really hit it home runs here today. All right, so once again, we're gonna wrap it up here. I guess we've been, I think I got them all right, and we've been on for about an hour. So we have gold as a pick today. We have ALGN. We have SIVB. I'll go slow here. We have ZBRA, and then as a short, long-term short, we found UNK, right? UNK. All right, so there we are. Let's quickly just look at the intraday time frames. All right, so this is, we do a lot of day trading. We have a day trading room. So this is what we kind of do in that, all right? So this, we use the multiple time frame analysis, and we do it on usually the micros, but you could do it on, ES or full contracts. But this is a trip. Watch this. 15-second. That's right. 15-second for a short term, 1 minute for a long term, and 5 minutes for the whopping, 5 minutes for the whopping long term, 1 minute for the intermediate term. All right. So a lot different perspective than looking at longer term charts, right? But we use the same type of analysis, pyramid entries, roll the stops up. Stop is here. We have bearish divergence. So if we get stopped out on a long trade that we would have taken close to the open, all right, there's our stop. And it would have been a nice trade. So the analysis is the same because of the fractal symmetry in the market, meaning that you see the same type of patterns on the intraday charts that you do on the position charts. Okay, Frank wants to look at one more, and I'll be glad to do that. Let me go back over to the position trades here, and that's UNN. All right, so let's see what we got cooking here. All right, again, still loading. All right, so let's see again here. Ooh, this is a wild one, right? I'm only seeing so far data on the weekly chart. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just slow loading. Don't know. I don't know, Frank. This one doesn't do anything for me. Oh, it's UNN, not UNK. I got UNN. You think it might be UNK? Well, look at the chart when it loads and tell me, does UNN look like the weekly chart on your end? No, I'm not getting any data on here either. I'll put gold back up. All right, so that other one, if UNN is it, just looking at the weekly chart, not so great, okay? All right, so let me just see what else we got here. All right, good. Ernesto, always like to hear people's success stories. That's a good thing. All right, Reed, season greetings to you as well. All right, excellent. And John, all right, one more, Adobe, ADBE. All right, let's take a look at Adobe here. All right, so, this is kind of interesting because we saw this before. Beautiful wave 3 up. Look at that. Gotta love that, right? But now we've got a pretty big move down, but we're still right in the target. All right, we have bullish divergence building. We have some clarity in terms of an ABC. We kind of want to make sure this is done, right? So it's been selling off for a good solid year now. So let's see if we've got possible bottom in here. Okay, we might. All right, couple things. First, my eyes go right to here first, right to this red PTF. Again, so I would not be long here. Okay, it looks to me like we might have one more sliver to the downside before bottoms in. This is going up, so I think we could go up a little bit higher before we come back down. So here's the way I would play this. I would not go long here. I can't because this is red. However, if this abruptly turns green, all right, I'll go long. And here's a pressure point up here as well, okay? So that would keep me out of a long trade on this. Now, on this, we've got green, but we've got pyramids going down, so I can't go long on that either. So we've got a little bit of a basing maybe going on here, but according to this, the bottom's not in. So I would hold off on this, but I would put this on a watch list because once the bottom is in, you want to be all over this, okay? Because this is going to be a tremendous bullish trade once we have some type of bottom in, because it should get above 700 and there's your double the money. And if it gets down a little lower, according to this, it should go back into the 200s, upper 200s, then that's going to be a really good buy. All right. So watch list that one. Okay. And thank you for sharing that. All right. So anything else? Going once, going twice. All right, Gene always tells me, please like us. Put a like, push the button for a like, I guess. All right, good. All right, so that's it for this week. All right, so I think I got them all. What a great session. Again, we found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this week. So again, almost like a stock picking service. So you can't beat that, right? And we good turnout today too. So again, Happy New Year to everybody. Let's make this year the best ever. And we'll be back next Friday and take a look and see how these are doing. So bring any and all stocks you want, and we'll be glad to take a look at them. All right. Take care, you guys. We'll see you later, alligators. See you next time. I'll just roll it over to the intraday levels on the MES, the short-term time frames. Those are always kind of fun to watch. I'll close the room in a couple minutes, though. All right, again, thanks everybody for being here, and muchly appreciate all the activity.